Welcome to the Tristan Law Show. If it's your first time here, welcome. And if you've been here before, welcome back. I'm Tristan Law. Today we are going to look into the anger of Drew McIntyre. I want to see if Drew McIntyre's, if his anger is justified. Is he right to be angry? Well, we're going to look into that. I'm going to plead his case today. Thank you so much for joining me on this random Tuesday afternoon. Don't forget that we are live every Tuesday and Friday at noon. But CM Punk and Drew McIntyre, they have stepped into the Hell in a Cell, a structure designed for the fiercest of rivalries. WWE is going back to what makes wrestling great, is that they're using these big matches to settle blood feuds, and they did that. But how did we get to CM Punk and Drew McIntyre in the Hell in the Cell? Drew McIntyre, he's once a proud warrior. He transformed into a man fueled by rage, and he's ready to tear CM Punk apart. And equally, CM Punk was ready to tear him apart as well, too. Is this bitterness just a storyline, or is there something a little more deeper that is driving the actions of Drew McIntyre? Today, we're going to be looking into the past of Drew McIntyre. We're going to be looking into the rise, and we're going to define the moments that broke Drew McIntyre, that made him the person that he is today. By the end of the episode, you will probably have a better idea, or you might even agree with me, why I feel that Drew's anger may be a lot more justified than you think. So looking at Drew McIntyre's early pro wrestling career, he was chosen as, he started as the Chosen One, and he came out and Vince McMahon called him the Chosen One, and he was supposed to be the person that was supposed to take the WWE into the future. Have we heard that recently? Yeah, we heard that with Roman Reigns. But Drew McIntyre made his debut on October 12th, 2007 episode of SmackDown against Brett Majors. We might know Brett Majors as Matt Cardona. That is Drew McIntyre there in his first ever WWE televised match where he won. Drew McIntyre was then sent down to WWE Developmental from 2008 to 2009. That's where he spent his time. And then Drew McIntyre in 2009, March 2009, he won the FCW title. For those of you that don't know, FCW is Florida Championship Wrestling, and that is the precursor to what we call NXT today. It was WWE Developmental. August 28th, 2009, Drew is back on television. This is when Vince McMahon officially labels him as the Chosen One. He is labeled as the future World Heavyweight Champion by Mr. McMahon, and Mr. McMahon says his attitude can be summed up as none other than badass. Drew McIntyre eventually became the Intercontinental Champion around 2010, and he had a 161-day title reign. Now, anybody that's been watching wrestling as long as I have, you know that if you hold the Intercontinental Championship, that just means one thing: that you are the man in training. You are the next in line for them to put the company on your back and for you to be the next big star, okay? Drew McIntyre did have a little bit of help during that time. He had Mr. McMahon helping him. Mr. McMahon spun the rules within his favor, but that was up until the Nexus attacked Mr. McMahon, and there went Drew's preferential treatment. Teddy Long, the then GM of SmackDown, he took Drew McIntyre off TV because Drew's visa was expiring. But 2 weeks later, Teddy Long put him back on TV. But Drew McIntyre had to do one thing to get his job back. He had to beg for his job. Well, however, he got his job back. He begged, right? Because where else would you want to work? Around that time, there wasn't really too many companies that you could work for. It was either AEW, it was either TNA, or it was the Indies, and then the WWE. So, you wanted to be with the WWE. That's where the money was at. In 2012, though, Drew McIntyre got turned into a laughingstock. He got paired with Jinder Mahal and Heath Slater to form a group called Three Man Band. Yep, that's him right there with Jinder Mahal on the left, Heath Slater in the middle, and Drew McIntyre, our subject today, on the right. They're in the ring at WWE Main Event. Not Raw, not SmackDown, but they're at WWE Main Event. In June 2014, Drew was fired from his WWE contract. Now, anybody out there that's a wrestler or wants to be a wrestler or anything like that, one of the things that we always strive to do is to work for the WWE. It's our dream. It was a dream of mine to participate in the ring. But you know what? At this age, I have a lot more fun creating content. Would I wrestle again? Yes. But if the WWE still came calling, I would definitely go. I would leave my job right now. I'd be gone in a heartbeat. And it could be very depressing finding out that the WWE has released you from your job and you no longer have the opportunity that you waited your whole entire life for. But you know what? Some people would fall into a depression, but somebody like Drew McIntyre, who is a warrior, what Drew McIntyre did was Drew McIntyre went to the Indies again and made a name for himself. He eventually grew some facial hair and became more of a badass. Drew McIntyre went back to his home in Scotland and began working for Insane Championship Wrestling. In 2014, that's Drew McIntyre right there working for Insane Championship Wrestling. In 2014, though, Drew McIntyre eventually went over to Evolve. Evolve was like one of the big indies in the United States. And if you worked for Evolve, you were pretty much getting ready to go to the WWE. That's what that meant. Okay, so Evolve was like BDE, big people energy at that point. And Drew McIntyre was undefeated. He was undefeated working for Evolve. And he even won the Evolve Championship the first night. Here's Drew McIntyre right there. Right there. You see, look at him. He looks kind of different, though. It looks like he's put on a kind of weight. Drew McIntyre doesn't look like who he looks like now, and that's Drew McIntyre on the left. He doesn't look brolic like he does now. But in 2015, Drew McIntyre moved on and he went to TNA. And he won the TNA World Championship in 2016. At this point, you see that Drew McIntyre is so prestigious. He's won the main championship so far in TNA, in Insane Championship Wrestling, right? And he didn't really get anything. So he was the chosen one. Maybe his path was just a little bit different. But Drew eventually went back to the WWE in April 2017 and was part of NXT, the developmental brand. So Drew McIntyre went to developmental twice. Not once, but twice he went to developmental. He was undefeated and held the NXT championship for 91 days until he lost it to Andrade. You hear what I'm saying right now? Like, if you can't see that Drew McIntyre is the man, you need to clean your glasses, okay? Drew McIntyre eventually moved over to Raw. Look, Raw, everybody considers Raw the really big show. That's where you want to be. You want to be on Raw. However, in 2020, Drew McIntyre, he won the Royal Rumble. He got a standing ovation from the fans in attendance, and he was finally moving closer to his destiny to get the pyro, the ballyhoo, and the adulation of all the fans that would be there when he won at WrestleMania 36, when he held the title over his head, and Drew McIntyre was looking to be celebrated. If you like what I'm doing right now, hey, go ahead and subscribe. Subscriptions mean a lot to me. It's a compliment. It means that you think that I'm doing a really good job. This channel is growing really fast. And in the future, as we grow bigger, there are going to be some really cool things going to do, like one-on-one sessions where we could all sit around and talk. It doesn't have to be live, but you could interact with me. Fan of the month, viewer of the month, different things that we're going to do. So make sure you subscribe if you're watching this. And you know what? Why not go out and throw it a like while you're at it? So Drew McIntyre goes on to win the Royal Rumble. The Royal Rumble is a big deal. If you win the Royal Rumble, that means that you are going to go to WrestleMania to get your moment. You're going to be able to hold that belt over your head. You're going to get the ballyhoo. You're going to get the fireworks, and you know what? You might even shed a tear or two. Yes, even the warrior himself, Drew McIntyre, probably would have shed a tear. Every kid dreams of being a wrestler. They have their dream of having their hands held high at WrestleMania. Yeah, the check is nice. Yeah, the celebrity is nice. But nothing beats having your hand held at WrestleMania. The biggest wrestling show, the Super Bowl of pro wrestling, okay? In order for Drew McIntyre to get to that dream, he had to win at the Royal Rumble, and the road to WrestleMania started right there. But Drew was a heel. Drew was being accepted, though, by the fans at the end of that Royal Rumble, and he was going full speed ahead for Brock Lesnar. This is Drew McIntyre here with his win at the 2020 Royal Rumble. Look at the happiness on Drew McIntyre's face. He's happy. He's excited. Drew McIntyre knows that what's going to happen to him is going to change his destiny. He knows that he's worked so hard to get here, and you know what? Nobody's going to take it from him. Well, you know what? Then COVID happened. And the planet was in a time of uncertainty. And not only was the planet in a time of uncertainty, so was the WWE. Will Drew be able to get his championship shot at Brock Lesnar at WWE and get his hand held, get the ballyhoo and all the things, or maybe shed a tear or two, kiss his wife? We didn't know. The pandemic was such a weird time in wrestling, and I did an episode on pandemic wrestling and why we would never go back there. One of the reasons I'm going to start telling you now is this. It's the reason we're not going to go back, because there were no fans there. Luckily, the powers to be in the WWE figured it out how to make WrestleMania and pro wrestling work, and they went on business as usual on a closed set with no fans. Hold on, I'm lying. Let me tell the truth. There was a fan. There was one fan in that building, and it was the ceiling fan. Yup, legit. I never forget that was the WrestleMania where they sold a T-shirt that said the attendance was one fan, and they had a picture of the fan. Look, man, the pandemic was a really weird time. We'll look back at the pandemic in 50 years and go, wow. However, Drew had the match against Brock Lesnar, and he was successful. He slayed the beast, but there were no fans, no fireworks, no ballyhoo, nothing. For the first time, winning the WWE Championship, it was very lackluster. That's Drew right there, winning the WWE Championship right there after he beat Brock Lesnar. There's no fans there. And you know what? You just have to, I guess you just have to put the fans inside of your head. It's not what you wanted. All right. Now let's look at what pushes Drew McIntyre over the edge even more. So, CM Punk left pro wrestling. He left pro wrestling, didn't like it, wasn't happy, whatever the reason may be. We're not really going to get into that too much because this is not a CM Punk episode. This is a Drew McIntyre episode. However, CM Punk joins AEW, comes back to pro wrestling in 2021 after leaving pro wrestling for 7 years. Whatever happens in AEW happens in AEW between CM Punk and them, and CM Punk leaves while he's still technically the real champion. Drew, however, is in the 2024 Royal Rumble, and he's looking to recapture his WrestleMania moment that he did not get. But CM Punk was a surprise entrant at 27 and tosses out the number 29 man, who was Drew McIntyre, over the top rope and eliminates him from getting his dream again. Punk gets hurt in the Royal Rumble at the hands of Drew McIntyre. However, the next night on Raw, Drew McIntyre, he starts antagonizing CM Punk. Rightfully so, right? Because CM Punk was there to steal his spot. Okay? We're going to get into that just a little bit more. Drew McIntyre goes on to win the Elimination Chamber match in Perth, Australia. And he defeats Bobby Lashley, LA Knight, Kevin Owens, Logan Paul, and the Viper Randy Orton. Drew McIntyre was the first person in that match. He went on for 30 minutes, earning his third title shot in 3 months. At this time, it looks like, man, Drew McIntyre was getting a lot of stimulus checks when it comes to winning or getting opportunities to win the titles. We're going to fast forward to WrestleMania 40. Drew McIntyre takes on World Heavyweight Champion Seth Rollins, And CM Punk decided to be an announcer and sit ringside and watch the match. After the match, Drew McIntyre, he taunted CM Punk, who was on commentary for the match, and whom McIntyre had been mocking for months on social media and in promos. Punk then attacked Drew McIntyre immediately, and then afterwards, Damian Priest cashed in his Money in the Bank contract and defeated McIntyre and given him a title reign of only 5 minutes. Look at this guy right here. This is Drew McIntyre right there after he won at WrestleMania XL, WrestleMania 40. He won the belt. And there was a little bit of justification on his face. He did it. He did it. He worked so hard to get to that moment. But you know the moment that everybody remembers? Here's the moment that everybody remembers. Damian Priest celebrating with the rest of the Judgment Day, who are no longer his friends, and he no longer has that belt. However, in true Drew fashion, Drew figures out a way to get himself another title match. Drew McIntyre is Scottish. He's from Scotland. He's actually from Glasgow, Scotland. And eventually they have a PLE, a premium live event that takes place in Glasgow, Scotland. And it was called Clash in the Castle. It took place in June 2024. Drew McIntyre finally has another shot at the World Heavyweight Championship in front of his family, in front of his country, and against Damian Priest. And CM Punk meddles in the match and snatches the opportunity away from Drew McIntyre again. This all leads to a strap match. Let me show you the strap match right there. Now look, CM Punk's beating him with the strap. And what it also leads to as well is to what we got this past weekend, the Hell in a Cell, to where CM Punk won that match. The two men brutalize each other. But here's all the things that went wrong, and this is how I'm justifying Drew's bad behavior. Drew was handpicked by the boss, and that fizzled out. Drew was even getting preferential treatment by the boss, and that fizzled out. Teddy Long humiliated Drew McIntyre, making him beg for his job on SmackDown. Drew McIntyre was also humiliated when he was thrown into three-man band with Jinder Mahal and Heath Slater. And then he was tossed out of the WWE like a piece of trash. Drew McIntyre, though, picks himself up by his shoe bootlaces, and he rebuilds himself outside of the WWE and comes back to the WWE after 4-year absence, ready to do big things. He wins the 2020 Royal Rumble. He defeats the then WWE champion Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania 36, but due to COVID, there's no fans, no fireworks, therefore denying Drew McIntyre his WrestleMania moment. Drew has resentment towards the WWE Universe for him carrying the WWE in the early months of the pandemic, but was never respected for his hard work. CM Punk steals Drew McIntyre's spotlight and overshadows Punk, and all the fans cheer for Punk and not Drew McIntyre. Not good at all. There's the Royal Rumble incident, followed by Drew's humiliation at WrestleMania XL. And then there's, the Clash in the Castle interference that cost Drew either his 4th or 5th championship shot in 1 year. The fans turned their back on CM Punk. Despite carrying the WWE during a difficult time, the WWE Universe quickly moved on from Drew, contributing to his bitterness and his resentment. CM Punk was seen by many as a disruptive force, represents everything that Drew McIntyre despises. Someone who abandoned WWE, unlike Drew McIntyre, who was kicked out of WWE. Drew McIntyre despises every single thing about CM Punk. CM Punk comes back and tries to take what Drew McIntyre believes is rightfully his. Don't forget to subscribe to the Tristan Law Show. I love the subscriptions. I love everything that's happening here. It's growing. Got a lot of people watching it. Appreciate you. I'm also asking as well, too, for you to come back on Friday. Got a really special show coming out on Friday. And next week, I think I'm going to have 2 live interviews in 1 week. Ooh, can't wait for the 2 special interviews that we're going to have next week. looking at everything with Drew McIntyre. How many times does Drew McIntyre have to prove himself before he gets the respect that he deserves? This man was the chosen one, handpicked by Mr. McMahon. And what happened? He got cast aside, humiliated in 3MB, and fired. He fought his way back to WWE and won the 2020 Royal Rumble, slayed Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania 36, and you know what he got for it? Nothing. No fans, no celebration, no fireworks, just an empty arena. And now, CM Punk waltzes back into the WWE after leaving for years, tosses Drew out of the Royal Rumble, steals his moments, cost him title after title, and you wonder why Drew McIntyre is angry? Drew McIntyre carried the #1 pro wrestling on the planet. The #1 pro wrestling company on the planet, Drew McIntyre, carried it when nobody else could. And now Punk is trying to steal his spot. Drew has every right to be furious. And if you can't see that, you haven't been paying attention. And that's why Drew McIntyre's anger is justified. Thank you so much for hanging out here with me today. Don't forget, if you like what I did today, to like, share, and subscribe. I'll be back on Friday at noon Eastern, and I can't wait to see you. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today. This is the Tristan Law Show, and I'll see you next time.